Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? I'm just getting ready for work real quick, but I wanted to come on. I have a couple minutes and I just wanted to review some state survey tips from my old job. So regulations in long-term care, they really don't change much. So I figured I'd come on and give y'all some tips in case you're getting ready for your state survey. I know a lot of us are in the window. A lot of us already went through it. So, these are basically for CNAs and LPNs, RNs, basically anybody who's in a nursing home, okay? So, surveyors, they look at dignity for the residents, okay? So, examples, do not use clothing protectors to clean a resident's mouth before, during, or after meals. Do not touch food items with hands. Rather, use gloves or a napkin. Always sit when feeding a resident. That goes for a snack as well. Remember to knock before entering residents' rooms. Ask if it's okay for you to enter, as this is their home. Alright, so that's a couple things on dignity. Neglect. What constitutes neglect? A resident requests to be changed and a staff member refuses. That's pretty obvious. Transferring a resident that requires 2 people and only 1 assists. That's actually neglect. Turning off a resident's call light and not returning to provide care. Leaving a resident on a bedpan too long. They are so obvious. Confidentiality. Resident diagnosis or personal information about the resident not to be discussed in public areas. You see this a lot in long-term care. Like, we're just out in the hallway sometimes and we discuss stuff. We really are not supposed to do that. Do not get caught doing that. You never want to talk like loud enough for your voice to be heard a couple feet away or whatever. Like, it has to be private when you're talking about residents, okay? No health information should be released to anyone except those listed in the chart. So if there's family members present, then you need to ask who you're talking to, and then ask to privately speak to people, because you can't tell everybody who's in the room. Okay, so that is HIPAA. Abuse. There's verbal, physical, sexual, neglect, misappropriation. If abuse is suspected, this is what you do. You remove the resident to safety. Notify your supervisor immediately. The supervisor must notify chief executive director, chief nurse executive, DON, and administrator. Suspension of the employee is required during the investigation to protect the resident and the employee. If you see abuse and do not stop it or report it, you are also at risk of being part of it. Resident rights. Should I call a resident by their first name or honey or grandma? No. You have to call them Mrs. whatever, Mr. whatever. Okay? Care. Where do you go as a staff member to find out how to care for a resident? They might ask you that. So you go to the POC Cardex if you're using Point Click Clear, or you would go, if you're the nurse, you would go to the care plan. Hand washing, it has to be done for 20 seconds. So if they're watching you, count at least to 30 just to be safe. And then you always have to get when I'm washing my hands, I'm always going like that, but I forget about my thumbs sometimes. Like, you have to get the thumbs, you have to get the tips of your finger on the palm of your hand, and then the tops, and then between your fingers, and then under your nails as well. They might be looking for all that, okay? Wash your hands before serving meals, after providing care. That's also obvious. No gloves in the hallway. Remove them before leaving the resident room, and wash your hands. Make sure PPE is available at isolation rooms. Put on equipment before entering and remove before leaving. Don't come out in the hallway with it. Alright? Sometimes we forget that. Then wash your hands right away. Eye wash stations, they might ask you where they are, know where they are. Meals, if a resident doesn't eat well, report this to the charge nurse. They do watch meal services, so if they see a patient not eating, they might make sure that somebody told the nurse. Snacks have to be passed out immediately. So if you're in the middle of a state survey, just jump on it. Like, don't let 5 minutes go by. Like, jump on it. Like, just anything easy you can do to prevent a, a citation, just do that. If a resident does not take or eat the snack, notify the nurse, because as nurses, we are signing out the snacks. Call bell response, they should be answered within 5 minutes. And they have to be in reach of the patient. And if it's a stroke patient, it has to be on their good side, okay? Their side that is strong. Don't put it on the weak side. Sharps containers, make sure they're not full. That is a citation. If they catch a full one on the cart. Falls. The resident is not to be moved until being evaluated by an RN. Well, I didn't realize that. Okay. Remember to obtain witness statements. Infection control. Remember to clean the shower or chair before and after use. Same thing goes for BP cuffs, stethoscopes, and glucometers. What else? They might ask you about your fire. Like, if a fire alarm goes off, they might ask for your protocols. Like, just know those protocols. Like, if a room's empty, you're supposed to, like, at my old job, we would put a piece of linen outside the room. Like, you would just grab a pillowcase or a blanket and put it outside the room, and that says this room is empty, and then the firemen don't go in that room. Like, they might check, but they're going to go to the ones without the linen first. I mean, I'm kind of speaking for the firemen, but I'm guessing that's how it goes. That's the whole point of putting linen outside the room. And then if you have a facility with steps, you should have this thing where you can carry bedbound patients down with a bunch of people. It's like a big sling. Kind of like a Hoyer sling, but it's like you're just doing it manually in case of fire. And of course it's code red, that's for fire. RACE stands for rescue alarm, contain, extinguish. Yeah. I hope that these tips maybe gave you some things that you can just do in the state survey, like get on snacks immediately. They might ask you, how do you know how to care for a patient? You would go to the care plan. You would go to the POC Cardex if you're a CNA. A lot of those things with meals, that with dignity, you might not know that. Like, you would think it would be okay to wipe their mouth with the clothing protector, but you have to use a napkin. And have gloves when you're feeding. Also, during meal services, it's like one table at a time. Like, you can't do this one person at this table and one person over at that table, because then it's rude to the other patients at the table because they're sitting there watching the other person eat. And then the person eating is uncomfortable. Like, you just don't do that. You don't even see that at restaurants. Like, they would never do that. So you can't do that in the state survey either. Always sit down when you're and then when you're feeding. And then the neglect one, where if it requires a 2-person assist, you can't be doing it with one. So they might follow the CNA. If you're a CNA, they might follow you and see how you transfer, and then later on, they might not say anything, but later on, they're going to figure out how are you supposed to transfer this patient. So you have to be aware during a state survey exactly what is required. A lot of times, there's like stickers on the outside of the door, or you have to, if you're doing care on a patient and the state surveyor is next to you, then check. If you're new or you're not sure and you don't really want to ask anyone, you want to like check in the computer to see what is required, or ask the nurse and say, the nurses should know as well where to find out if they're 2-person, 1-person transfer. And sometimes it's the patient will have a wheelchair, but a walker is required for the transfer. Like, be aware of the orders and how you're supposed to be caring for these patients, because that is a standard you're held to, and that's a standard you're held to if they fall as well. So as you're documenting, if you're a CNA, like, look in the Cardex and go through and see, how am I supposed to be doing these people? So when the state survey comes, especially if you're on 7 to 3, because they are going to be there during 7 to 3, know these things, especially if you know if you're in the window. All right. And then you can't, obviously, like, have a trash bag, never put linen on the floor. They'll get you for that, and that's pretty obvious, but I hope this helps some people. Like, if you're really new to long-term care, it might have helped you. If it did, let me know. And I do have other videos on state surveys, so check them out if you want. I can link them or put them in cards at the end of the video or whatever, okay? So if you watched this long, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys later on my way to work. I did get a new job. I was a unit manager at this one place, and it didn't work out. It was like way too much for me, and it was just, it was too much. So that was like one place I was just not successful at all. Like, I just kept trying and trying, but I just couldn't get it together. So now I am a 3 to 11 supervisor. So when the summer comes, I'll be home with the kids during the day. They won't be home all day, so then my husband will come home and take it where I left off. So 3 to 11 is good if you're married, because you guys can work it like that. If your husband works during the day, you do 3 to 11. And yeah, so, and I love 3 to 11. Maybe I could do a work with me video. come to work with me video. I am doing admissions, you know, staffing, handling call outs, that kind of thing. And just responding if there's like emergencies or falls or whatever. Yeah, so let me know if you have any video requests. I do my best to do them, but I don't know. Yeah, so that's it, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.